Hi all, my name is Raji and I'm going to talk you through my design story for chilLingo, a vocabulary app. Meet our protagonist Lilith. She is a London-based art lover who loves socialising. Lilith was created from a round of initial interviews I did a couple of weeks ago asking users about their experiences with apps as a form of learning. Her working hours are the only consistent thing in her otherwise hectic life, and even though she's good at trying out new things, she's not particularly good at sticking with any of them. Lilith sometimes feels like she needs to give up something in order to facilitate learning. And to be honest, if you start off like this, then there's almost a degree of resentment towards it. There's no positive feelings towards learning here. In order to solve this for her, we first need to find out what the root problems are. So Lilith isn't able to achieve a consistent, steady method of learning. She can't fit her life around classes. This has been tried and tested. She wants something that can mold around her instead. She needs something flexible, as her availability for learning won't be the same from week to week, let alone day to day. And as Lilith is engaging the app specifically for a trip to Italy, she wants to be learning what she feels she will use there. Otherwise, it will seem like a waste of time when time is precious. Flexibility needs to extend to the method of learning also. Lilith walks to work regularly, and it's frustrating for her that there are no alternative options for screen time. We will know we've succeeded when Lilith is confident enough with her Italian skills that she books her trip to Florence and the art galleries there. Struggles with fitting everything in is something I think most people can relate to. And what Lilith is basically saying is, I want to do what I need to do when I want to do it. And this might sound impossible. How can you possibly have your cake and eat it in this way? But that's exactly the problem we're going to find the solution to. chilLingo is an app that has degrees of personalization, so that aspects of it can be molded around what Lilith needs. These key aspects are being able to dictate how long and how frequently she wants to learn, the ability to set a reminder for when is next convenient to her, choosing the categories that she wants to learn, and finally, an audio function that allows for hands-free learning. These are the super early wireframes I came up with. They show the personalization aspects of the app. As you can see from the second frame, lessons are scheduled for every other day, and the next reminder is set for tomorrow at 1 p.m. The next frame shows the category section in settings. You're allowed to have 5 categories at once to learn from, and there are already 5 selected, so one needs to be deselected before choosing from another. And the last is the home screen, where there are 5 chosen categories waiting to be selected to learn, a random button, and the highly anticipated audio function. I did a second version of these before going on to user testing with a lo-fi prototype that was created on Marvel. User testing was focused on the personalization aspects and the functionality around them, as they're the key parts of the app. The user was first asked to create a new account, and once they'd selected new account, onboarding slides were shown before the user landed on the sign up page. The next 3 tasks were to see if the user could navigate their way to where they could tailor the app to their needs, and the final task was to be able to start learning. I was able to use 3 of the participants from my initial interviews, and although 2 of them were via video call, this was done on a laptop so they could use the prototype via Marvel on their own phones. This table here shows an amalgamation of the results from all 3 tests, and I'm just going to run through 2 of the main recommendations I made. The first, and what I thought might be the most simple task, actually had the most feedback and comments. As the onboarding process started up as soon as a user pressed create new, there was a bit of confusion as to what was going on. Firstly, because they were expecting a screen asking for their information, and secondly, because the onboarding screens had only a 3-second time lag before moving on to the next. So even though they had a forward and backwards button to allow you to toggle through them, it was all moving too fast for them to see these. So it's unclear if issues that came up on the following tasks were due to poor explanation via the onboarding or because it moved too fast to read. So my recommendation was to increase the lag time. It's better that the time is too long, as you've still got the forward and back buttons to move things on a bit if you require. And the final part was that I noticed throughout the testing that everyone was pressing the back button multiple times instead of the more direct one click to the home button route. And as the home is also where the learning sessions were launched from, that icon was a book. And obviously, this doesn't shout out homepage. So I recommended a change to move to the more standard house icon. This slide shows some of the changes I made to the onboarding. So I expanded from 3 to 5 screens to make sure there wasn't too much information in one place, and the lag time was increased. And the final two show the designs for the audio and what is now the shuffle learn mode, not random. This slide shows the evolution of the home page, with the latest version showing updated buttons again for shuffle and audio function. And there we have at the bottom the home icon. And you can see the categories have evolved. So they've got clear icons which show you what you'll be learning. Now I have actioned the recommendations from the first round of testing, it's time for more testing. The original usability test was focused on what was wanted and needed by Lilith. I wanted to build on other parts of the app now that are important to the functionality, so I can test in lo-fi and make sure that the bare bones are up to scratch before moving to a higher fidelity test. And this will also confirm that any revisions to the original prototype are fit for purpose. The original name chilLingo came about from the need for Lilith to have a calm, understated app that allows for a more effective learning. However, as lo-fi prototypes are more about functionality, this wasn't really something that could be fully tested. So when it comes from the design and aesthetic, this is where that aspect will come into its own. And from there, we can go on to high fidelity testing. So more testing again. This final slide is about my personal journey during this project. I haven't done anything so completely new for a long time, and it was equally refreshing and terrifying. So all the feedback from my tutor really helped me find my feet. It's not something anyone can do alone. Getting drafts checked before going too far was always a good thing to do. I really enjoyed mocking up the lo-fi wireframes, but it was hard to know what level of detail was required. Even though I didn't know the full shape of what the app would look like, I needed more detail there than I thought I would. Ironically, it was the opposite when I was creating Lilith, my proto persona. This was probably the hardest part of the process for me. The different ways of phrasing what Lilith's needs and wants were was quite hard to get my head around. And to make up for this, I think I just added far too much detail to build her up instead. However, creating the proto persona was really good at showing just how much we can get from user interactions. I kept looking back at my interview notes and pulling out common themes that were, and I guess that they basically make up the main features of my app. And it's the same for usability testing. The information you get back is so important, and I didn't think I fully comprehended this until I did the process myself. Another aspect which proved quite tricky was finding the right naming convention for different functions and different aspects of the app so it's not interpreted in the wrong way. The main example of this was what started off as random and then became the shuffle mode for the app. The icon I drew and how it was generally presented on the prototype did not come across as it was meant to. So next time I'll brainstorm for different versions of what these would look like and be called, as they're basically how you're pushing your app forward, their main features. So it's really important that they sound right. I really enjoyed the methodical nature of making the wireframes and the prototype on Marvel. I found it quite soothing. And I guess this is where you see all your work so far come together and become a tangible thing. So, it's quite nice. However, I easily fall down tech rabbit holes when playing with new software, and I have to be careful I don't spend all my time doing that. And the same goes with formatting and presenting my work. It's something I spend too long procrastinating over. But the best thing from this intro course is my ability to see the well-designed aspects of apps I use day to day. I guess usually if apps are well designed, you wouldn't normally give their functions a second thought. It's only the poorly designed parts that stick out. But no more. Good app features. I see you. Thank you so much for listening.